So the last big piece is that we always want to make a connection back to computer science. So what are the connections between all of these concepts? And when we look at subsets of different groups, there are many different reasons that we might want to explore this area. So clustering algorithms are one area that you might find this used in computer science as you advance through the topics that you'll see in later years. Clustering is something within machine learning. It's a technique used to group subsets of similar items together from a much larger set of data. So this could be employed when we're discussing how we can group people within social networks into related groups. So it could be groups of possible friends, community groups, people that live in the same area or have a similar interest. Those people that are interested in sailing or running. And so if you see that you're in a social network and there are suggestions made for groups to join or friends to connect with, this is down to an algorithm that's looking at how similar your information is to those other members of the community or network. This can also be used when we look at how we identify anomalous behavior that takes place that is outside of the norm. So just as we can use these clustering algorithms to find activity that is related and similar, we can find dissimilar information because it falls outside of those. So for instance, based on your typical purchases, this can help identify fraudulent credit card activity. And the interesting thing is fraudulent credit card activity is different depending on the person, right? For me, I buy lots of groceries because we like to cook and I've got many kids that really enjoy eating. And then I like to go sailing. And so we buy some sailing equipment and we do these other things. If you were to buy sailing equipment on your credit card, that might be outside of the norm for you. Another odd piece is people that drive electric cars, they don't buy much gasoline, whereas the normal population, that would never be fraudulent activity. Purchasing gasoline might seem the norm. But if you drive an electric car, that might be an atypical purchase. And so it will fall outside of what's normal for that person. The other fun way that this is coming into play is in terms of all of the data being captured by automated cars. So as cars become self-driving, what we see is that there's a lot of data stored about where they're going and what's a normal route. And we know that cars don't drive on sidewalks, so there are normal routes that they take, and they're roads, right? And so despite the fact that we're all going different directions to different locations, there are some norms to the paths being taken. And if a car is driving outside of the typical paths taken, that might be an alert that something is not quite right. Car is driven out of their lane. And this is an area that's just in its infancy, and there's so much left to explore. A final example of all of this is speech processing data. So whenever you interact with a tool such as Alexa or Siri, it's taking in not words, but a series of audio waves. It's just data that's being read in. And so it has to interpret that and turn that into something that makes sense and can be acted upon. And so we create, typically you'll create a training set. It will ask you to say specific phrases so that it can identify common sound patterns and common words that you might use. And then it groups those into sets of similar information. And that way, when you say a new word that it has never been trained on before, it can figure that out by understanding it from the similarities between those sound patterns. All of this is so amazing and so interesting. And if you find this is an area that you might want to explore further, then you might be interested in the areas of machine learning or data science. There are many different places to explore this. These are just a few, but it's something that I think is just so exciting about what's taking place in computer science right now. So find the area that interests you.